Education Institute, welcome to the second pre-convening webinar. This webinar is designed to provide participants with an overview of convening templates that will be used as a planning tool during the third White House Reach Higher convening focused on strengthening school counseling and college advising. We want state teams to come to Jacksonville both excited and ready to work. This is not your ordinary conference. Rather, it is a national work session, a meeting of you, key leadership teams, that will work together over a 3-day period to learn from each other, learn from dynamic keynote speakers, and then work together to identify a statewide metric that will serve as an impetus to inspire more students to reach higher for an education beyond high school. We are so happy to partner with the University of North Florida and Dr. Carolyn Stone and her team there. And on the next slide, you will see that also our team partners are the Florida Institute of Education. The consortium members are scattered all across the United States, and so we are happy for the on-the-ground support and simply thrilled that the University of North Florida and the Florida Institute of Education has partnered with us as well as with the White House. We know that making sure school counselors are strengthened around their college advising is really, really important. And on the next slide, we know that also school counselors really want to be engaged in this work. This slide shows the results about what school counselors actually want to do and be held accountable for. These are results from the 2012 National School Counselor Survey that was done by the College Board NOSCA office. On the left is a list of all the accountability measures, and you can see that when school counselors are engaged in this work, that we will have effective post-secondary opportunities for all of our students. I mentioned before that the consortium is so pleased to have partners in this work. And at this time, I would like to introduce you to Stephanie Sproul. She is on the First Lady's Reach Higher team, serving as a deputy director. Stephanie, please.
Morning this afternoon. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this afternoon. We are looking forward to seeing you all in Florida next week. I just wanted to give you a quick recap. Many of you know how Reach Higher started, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page moving forward next week. So in 2013, the First Lady came to Secretary Duncan seeking ideas for how she could do something in education. She recognized that education was key to her success, and she wanted to make sure to be able to share that with students across the country. So through lots of candid conversations, Reach Higher was born, and it was born because it is authentically her story and the story of so many students throughout the country. So Reach Higher's mission is to encourage and support students to complete higher education, whether at a 2-year school, a 4-year school, vocational program, or via an industry-recognized certificate or degree. There are 4 main pillars of Reach Higher, which are exposing students to college and career opportunities, particularly through near-peer experiences, making financial aid and college affordability a reality via the FAFSA education and completion, and inspiring and supporting academic and summer planning, staying on track and using your in-school time wisely. Of those 3, this past week, we launched and 2 initiatives to reach students where they are a little bit more closely than we have been able to so far. You may have seen in the news last week the Better Make Room campaign launch. That initiative was started as part of Reach Higher in order to try to reach students through social media and through the different forms of media that traditionally belongs to them. The Generation Z, which is we're defining pretty much as 12 to 18-year-olds, fall squarely within the Reach Hire's target audience, and we know that they communicate much differently than those of us who are older and in previous generations. So one thing that we know is that we have made lots of traction in Reach Hire with adults and less so with students. So Better Make Room is our opportunity to reach them where they are. And along with that is also the whatsupnext.us website, which will help students to know pretty much what happens next. So all the pieces that you need to become a great adult in the country. So you'll be able to find some FAFSA information there, student loan information, and also some other the Better Make Room information. The best way to learn about Better Make Room is through social media and through the internet. Their website is bettermakeroom.org, all one word, bettermakeroom.org, and we'll be sharing some more information about that next week at the convening. Our fourth pillar is supporting high school counselors and other education mentors, enabling force multipliers as college access professionals who are trained to support students and parents. And that is where our work with the National Consortium for School Counseling and Postsecondary Success and other school counseling organizations comes into play. So just to give you a recap of our history here in our school counselor space, we started with a meeting at the White House in January 2014, which was the College Opportunity Agenda Summit. And at that summit, the president called for, quote, an ambitious new agenda aimed at improving college value, removing barriers to innovation and competition, and ensuring that student debt remains affordable. And around that same time was when the Reach Hire initiative really became something and had some traction. And the First Lady realized just how important her voice could be on this mission. So following that, there were conversations with some school counselor representatives from some of the organizations throughout the country, and we realized that convenings like this needed to take place. So on July 28th, 2014, we had the first College Opportunity Agenda Strengthening School Counseling and College Advising meeting at Harvard. It was held at their Grad School of Education, and it brought together about 140 school counseling and college counseling leaders and advocates from across the country, representing a wide range of sectors, from college ed to K-12 to nonprofit, philanthropy, and public policy, and again, of course, the White House and the U.S. Department of Education. It was an opportunity for us to set the stage for what was to come, and to network and exchange ideas for moving forward. At that convening, the attendees were encouraged to look at their existing partnerships and create new commitments in their own home states or school districts, and to figure out how we could collaborate more closely and build those relationships between LEAs, higher education, college access organizations, and nonprofits to specifically move toward greater college access. So after that event, we were promised by the San Diego State University team to have a commitment to host the second convening, which they did in November of last year of 2014, again at San Diego State University on their campus. The specific focus for that was to have a convening of committed leaders and commitment makers to support those who are taking the necessary steps to create systemic change within the school counseling profession. And it was very important to us that it have that focus, and then by turn that it would then be invitation only, so that we could really get down to the nitty-gritty of those organizations and those cities and those districts that could make this kind of commitment, and therefore be able to replicate and show best practices throughout the country. Following that, as I'm sure all of you all know, we are gearing up for our third commitment here excuse me, at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville. We are very much looking forward to what's to come out of that meeting. Again, that one was by invitation only as well, though it'll be broader than the San Diego State University event. We have some new cities and new districts and also some new statewide partnerships that will be there, as well as multiple days of speakers who are very much committed to this work and committed to showing us best practices so that we can continue to replicate this throughout the country. So we are looking forward to this. In addition, just sort of as a heads up, the First Lady is absolutely committed to school counselors, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful partnership through Reach Higher. We have learned so much about what students need and about what school counselors can and should be able to do in schools. So you have a fantastic advocate there. We will be hosting again in 2016 now the National School Counselor of the Year celebration at the White House. This will be the second one that we have hosted there, and we are hoping that we make this a strong tradition that continues well beyond the Obama administration and into perpetuity. So I look forward to seeing all of you next week, and on behalf of myself and Eric Waldo, the Executive Director, and Greg Darniter, the Special Assistant to Secretary Duncan and Senior Advisor on college completion. Please let us know if you have questions, and again, we look forward to seeing you there. All of us will be there at some point in time during the 3 days, so you'll be able to find us.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. We are excited to partner with you, and we are excited to be in this work to help all students have viable post-secondary plans following high school. Well, on the screen now, you see the members of the National Consortium for School Counselors and Post-Secondary Success. Following the convenings that you heard Stephanie mention both at Harvard and San Diego, a group of us came together and decided to heed the First Lady's call to make a commitment. And we made a commitment to form a new national organization specifically focused on strengthening school counseling and college advising so that more students will enter post-secondary pathways, be it a 2-year, a 4-year, or industry certification program. We recognize that the jobs of the future require more of an education beyond high school, and we are extremely excited to partner with the University of North Florida, the Florida Institute of Education, and the White House on this important initiative. Across the nation, we know and recognize that there are many, many organizations who have heeded this call to action. We believe firmly, however, that school counselors are central to this work, and that this work must be done collaboratively, and that it must be done in partnership if we are going to have an impact on student-level outcomes. It is important to strengthen school counseling and college advising. The next slide shows the mission of our organization, and that is really to drive student-level outcomes that increase equitable and accessible pathways to post-secondary success for all young people, with an intentional focus on removing those systemic barriers for underserved populations. We strongly believe that school counselor engagement is a key factor in this work, and that we have to take it to scale by engaging school counselors across the nation in a leadership role where they form strategic partnerships that align systems of standards, training, practice, research, and policy that will support all young people. On the next slide, we see the urgency around our work, and that is that as a nation, we are not having the same level of degree attainment as we once did. And you see here on the slide that the United States has really fallen down out of the top 10, actually, where we used to be number 1 and 2. And so this is driving this work with urgency and with passion. We want to change the trajectory and make sure all of our young people are prepared for the global workforce, and also be in positions to really have an impact on their communities. The next slide shows us that, the next slide, please, that this work must be done in collaboration. The consortium fully supports this vision of no silos. We must all work together to create interventions that impact student-level post-secondary outcomes, especially for first-generation low-income students. They need help and they need strong school counselors, and so therefore we must be engaged. We are especially excited about teams coming from across the nation to join us in measuring student-level outcomes. The next slide shows the 32 state teams and the 12 district teams that will join us in Jacksonville. You, the participants on these teams, are on the national stage, and we expect a national change to occur because of your commitment. The positions you hold within states and across districts can immediately help students achieve post-secondary success. Your presence is what makes this convening district. And the next slide shows the key leadership roles that have been invited to attend the convening. Our theme, measurement, mobilization, and collaboration, will help guide the discussions around a wide variety of topics with key stakeholders during the convening. This is very exciting. For the first time, a variety of stakeholders will come together to really talk about what we can do. And on the left side of the screen, you see the key leadership roles that have been invited to attend. We are extremely excited about having over 30 state teams and 12 school districts heed this call to action. This is why this convening is different. Conference participants are coming in teams consisting of specific role groups. These role groups are necessary for us to have a collective action to get a measurement and hold ourselves accountable for this work. The goal of the convening is for state teams to gather information from each other, learn from our keynote speakers and panels, and then leave with a plan to take an actionable, measurable step toward helping more students in underserved communities, especially reach higher by committing to selecting a metric to measure. We want you to come to convening and really learn from each other and then be inspired to go back and lead this work. The next slide shows the dynamic list of speakers that will address the convening participants. We are very excited about our keynote speakers. On day one, we have Lieutenant Governor Joe Garcia from Colorado. On day two, the mobilization day, we will have keynote speeches by Johan Uven from the Department of Education, the acting undersecretary. And then we will have Danette Howard, who is the Vice President of Mobilization at the Lumina Foundation. And closing out on day three, moving forward, we have the Chancellor of the Florida College System, Madeline Palma-Riga. And please excuse that pronunciation. Throughout the convening, there will be multiple breakout learning sessions, an opportunity to discuss topics throughout within role groups. We will have roundtable hot topic discussions as well as team planning time. And so on the next slide, we will then look at the planning templates that will take place. This is what we want you to do. We want you to take a look at these templates. They will be posted on our website, both at the FIE website and on the consortium website for you to download if you so desire ahead of the convening. But certainly when you get there, please bring your laptops, everyone, because you will use these templates to construct your plans of action as we move forward to get a student level measurable metric done statewide. Let's begin with day one. Next slide. On day one, there will be two opportunities for planning. The first planning session will be in the morning following the keynote address. Teams will get together and meet and introduce themselves. Then the second planning time will be from 3:45 to 4:45. We're calling this team planning time as well. On the next slide, you will see that during both of these sessions, we really want you to have specific actions that you take. So during team time one, you will do introductions. And during team time 2, there will be state planning time, both at the state and at the district level. To the right in the red boxes are the levers of change that we imagine. They really focus around the Consortium 5 buckets of change. And so if you're going to strengthen school counseling and college advising, we believe that the topics listed in red should be strongly considered, because we are interested in having measurable student level outcomes, and all of these factors can contribute to that. So the next slide will give us a better overview of the metrics that some states are using. So some states have already begun this whole task of identifying metrics to use in order to track student level success. And this is a list of metrics that we want states to consider using. Many states coming to the convening are already engaged in this statewide measurement, and they're going to serve on panels to show you just how they got it started. So this is a very good list of indicators that state teams and district teams can begin to review as they decide which one they're going to track over the next year. On the next slide, we want all teams to start with the agenda. The agenda kind of outlines how you should go about using your team planning time. Again, on day 1, that first section of planning time in the morning, we want you to use the templates that are going to follow this slide to really begin to identify the members of your team and their roles and titles. We understand that different teams are at different places. Some teams know each other well, and some teams are just meeting for the first time. So once you introduce yourselves, please identify the missing roles. You're going to have a template to help you begin to review your state metrics and the college and career initiatives that are taking place. And then you will begin to look at the lever of change worksheet, as well as the metrics. And all of this is to just give you background into how you could begin to plan, because we want you to leave the convening with an action plan of measurable next steps. The next slide will show a reflection template. And on this template, at the end of each day, we hope as you move through the keynote speakers and the breakout sessions that you will indeed be able to capture ideas that you can share at your state team meetings at the end of the day. And as we move forward to the next slide, that just shows the example of the team members template, where you record the role and the names of the teams. On the next slide, it's a template that asks you to please identify any missing key roles, so that when you return back to your states and your districts, you can engage all the key stakeholders in this work. On the next slide, this is the template where you can record all the post-secondary work that's currently going on in your districts. Please identify if it's being measured and which lever of change, that's the red slides that I showed you earlier, is it supporting. And that will help you brainstorm ideas about what you're going to do collectively. On the next slide are just some guiding questions. How many degrees does your state award? How close are you to meeting the president's goal of 60%? And so this is just another template that can help you capture information as you track and plan together. On the next slide, these are some reflective questions that teams can use. Which of your initiatives has a strong key support of leadership, like your superintendent? Or does the president have this as a goal, like FAFSA completion? Which initiative is tied to a national data set? We do want everyone to use data and consider data as we hold ourselves accountable. And then by the end of the day, we want you to kind of narrow your list down to 3 top metrics to continue to discuss as you begin to identify which one you're going to focus on. And then the next slide is just a template for you to record your strategy, list the rationale, and then record the action steps. Again, these templates are just guiding templates. You don't have to use any of them, but it will help you frame the discussions, we hope. So that's the end of day 1. Going on to the next slide, on day 2, we have built in a great deal of talk and learning time. There are 3 sessions for opportunities to communicate with each other. This is in addition to two fabulous keynote speakers, as well as 3 role breakout sessions, as well as 6 panels that will talk about ways that they mobilized and collaborated in order to get this work started across the state and within districts. From 11 to 12, that will be the role group dialogue. And so when you come to the convening, there will be rooms, breakout rooms, according to your work title. And it will be in those rooms that you can meet others who are doing this work across the nation. It's very powerful to meet others who are engaged in this work and are doing similar things to you and have the same work role responsibilities. From 2:15 to 3:30, this is an exciting breakout session where you can pose a question or a problem, and then pose the question, the problem, and everybody who is interested in that topic will join together to brainstorm together. We had this session in San Diego, and it was a great success. And then team time will be at the end of day 2 from 3:45 to 4:45. And it is here that districts can meet or states and districts can meet together, but all the states will have meeting spaces that we will identify as you come and register so that you will have a place to really think and reflect. So going on to the templates for day 2, the next slide. We will begin with the role group dialogue template. And when you go into these breakout rooms, you will do introductions, share your college and career readiness work with everybody, share the metrics you are considering, and then most importantly, discuss and brainstorm solutions to any barriers and challenges, keeping in mind that all of this work is being put together to strengthen school counseling and college advising, because we believe that those people who touch kids at the front lines of school need to have the tools and resources to really inspire them to reach higher. On the next slide, this is another template to guide the discussion around the day 2 roundtable hot topics. And we at the consortium are interested in these 5 change areas: credentials and standards, school counselor, college and career readiness roles, school counselor, college and career readiness training, pre-service and in-service college advising training. We believe in a collaborative model around that. Counselor research around college and career readiness. And if you don't like any of those areas, you can propose the topic and go to a table and share your ideas. Basically, this session is to see what's on your mind and to identify any unanswered questions that you need as you move forward with this very important work. On the next slide, at the end of day 2, again, we have team planning time schedule. What were the thoughts that you captured from the various sessions? And can you now commit to identifying a statewide metric to measure? So we want teams to really brainstorm and come up with a metric, and then determine a framework for getting the metric off the ground so that you can track it over the next year. Remember, the goal is student level outcomes. We don't want you to forget the value of forming strategic partnerships, and that is the next slide. You need to brainstorm ideas about funding and donors, brainstorm ideas about how you can collaborate and form relationships around this idea of strengthening school counseling policies, as well as school counseling higher ed programs. Consider the donors that may focus on how partnerships will help practicing school counselors and school counselor programs do better training in partnership with all people who are working on this whole idea of college advising. It's a very important area that we really should pay attention to. On the next slide, then, we are going on to day 3. I should also mention that on day 1, at the end of day 1, we have a fabulous reception plan for the conveners. And so we are working you very hard, but we also envision meeting and having fun and making some new friends at the end of the day. So on day 3, that's a half day, and there's only one breakout planning session, and that's in the morning. And it is during that session
Recording is on.
Okay, I'm back up and running. So on day 3, moving forward, we only have one breakout session for team planning time, and that's in the morning, where we want teams to really make a commitment. And this next slide shows the kinds of reflective questions that you and your team can use to really get to the point of identifying that final metric commitment. So we want you to confirm your commitment, list the strategies, and think about what you're going to do, especially to reach the underserved students, and then talk about who will lead this work of monitoring the progress and how will you support and report out your progress as you move forward across the state. This next template is just helps you to identify, to make that commitment to what metric you will use to make sure that you will reach higher and support the work and the goals of the Reach Higher initiative. Finally, we want you to use this next template to have a reflection. Again, we're going to spend 3 days together, and we must have it benefit the students who are in the trenches at the front lines. We have to commit to the idea that we are going to help all have a vision and an opportunity to proceed farther with their lives, more than high school. And so we will make the commitment to say, when we leave here, we're going to take actions to strengthen school counseling and college advising as a support to helping more students reach higher. The next slide is a reflection and a request. Last year, the state teams came and they made commitments, and we know that many of you have done wonderful work, and we need to get the updates. So in the pre-convening survey, we did get a lot of information, but we know just in talking to all of you that you've done some amazing things. And so we want to capture your progress. We're asking if you have any documents, any kind of written items that you want to share with the consortium. You will hear at the convening about our commitment to having an interactive website by state so that we can track and measure your progress. And so please, please, please share your ideas with us. You could just email them to info@ncscps.org. Finally, at this time, I know I've given you a lot of information, and I probably talked too fast. But at this time, if you have any questions, we would invite you to please submit your questions to the chat box, and we will take your questions at this time. For your information, this webinar has been recorded, and it will be available on the NCSCPS website as well as the FIE website. I also want to say that you can download all of these templates and begin working prior to coming to the convening, but if your schedule doesn't permit you to do that, we wanted to really frame what the 3 days are going to be like. We do not want you to think that this is just a convening where you come and you sit. We are going to put you to work and make sure that you have an action plan and support for implementing your actions when you leave the convening. We are excited that we have a team of technical assistance people. These are people who worked in the college access world on various initiatives throughout the nation, and they will serve as technical assistance guides to the state and district teams to answer any questions that you have. So at this time, we'd like to open the lines for any questions that any of the participants have. Please put the questions in the chat. Okay, I see that one person said that if they didn't know their team, how can you get contact information? On the emails, the team leads would have submitted your name to be on a team, but if you don't, know your team lead, you can send me an email. My name, and I'm sorry that I didn't introduce myself. I'm Joyce Brown, one of the consortium members. That's my contact information on the screen. Another question is, are the templates on the NCSCPS website? They have not gone up yet. They will go up before the end of the day. Another question is, can we share a full list of the attendees? We are unable to share the attendee list because we don't have everyone's permission to do that. And so at the convening, we're trying to figure out who wants their information shared. And so we will try to make that happen. Yes, Maine, I'm sorry, I did not have you on that slide, but yes, the mighty state of Maine will be at the convening as well. So thank you for pointing that out. The convening attire is business casual. It's business casual. I am really excited. I have enjoyed talking to all of you across the country, getting your teams aligned and answering your questions. And it's very humbling to think that we have this movement going on around strengthening school counseling and college advising. We just want everybody to come with the mindset of really working together and meeting new people and making sure that we can continue this work. We have finalized the agenda, and I can send that agenda out before Friday. I have made note of that, and we will put it up on the website as well. So we do have our final agenda. Everything has come together very, very nicely. You will be excited about the presentations, and we will post them up on our website. Any other questions? Well, I hope everybody has their marching orders and that you fully understand. You will hear from several state teams that have really been progressive in this work. They're going to do state team panels. We have a panel from Florida. We have a panel from Colorado, a panel from Michigan, and New York. And so those state panels have done some amazing work around college and career readiness, as well as during the convening, you're going to be able to interact and meet with states across the nation who've done the work. We were just able to highlight those 4 panels, but I'm telling you, across the nation, many states have done some amazing things. And so you'll get a chance to hear from a variety of people. The national organizations have been wonderful, and they have just recently formed a national council to support this work of strengthening school counseling and college advising. And so we hope to have a representative from the organization provide the convening with the update. But it's been really, really wonderful having everybody who is engaged in this college access work to come together. And so they have formed a national council to support school counseling and college advising. I know we've had a few technical difficulties. I hope that you were able to hear most of the information. And again, this information will be recorded and put up for you to play back. We want you to feel comfortable in coming and knowing what you're doing. I'm a teacher at heart. And so I want my people to understand what the expectations are as we go to work, because work is what we must do. Um, yes, the national organizations, we have over 35 organizations coming, and someone asked about ACA and KCREP. They are on board and they will be in attendance. We have, and we'll post that up for you as well. So in addition to states and districts, we also have national organization participation, and it's really, really wonderful. NACAC is sending a representative, the National College Advising Corps is sending representatives. So this really is supporting the consortium's vision of having a collaboration around how we can all work together. So many times, and it's just amazing that people are working in silos. So we're saying, look, all of us are going to come together to make sure that we can support the First Lady's vision of inspiring our students, even the least of these, the first generation students, the students who are from big cities like mine and who have great challenges, and small rural districts where those students have challenges. We intend for everyone to understand that college is possible. And when we come together in Jacksonville, we're going to make plans to make sure that happens. Yes, NBCC will be attending as well. And again, we'll put up those national organizations. The consortium has had great, great support for this work, and we're very appreciative of it. One question was, are there any discussions around federal grants to hire college advisors or more counselors in high schools? Certainly that conversation comes up all of the time. And what we have to do is continue to put the rationale out there to demonstrate the impact. And that's why we're so important. It is so important as we form these measurement plans. We're hoping to gather best practices around what can happen when school counselors are engaged. And I think that will give us the framework to go after funding and to show everyone, when we have a focus, that we can impact change. We know that many, many organizations have done this and have researched their impact when they go into schools and districts to do the work. But what we see missing from the literature is the impact of school counselors. And so I can tell you that the consortium has been so honored to receive funding, a grant from the Kresge Foundation to scan the field and to scan the literature for best practices that have happened since the 2012 survey. And we will be writing blueprints and also a landscape review about the way forward around strengthening school counseling and college advising in a collaborative model. And we know that school counselors sometimes have so many other duties as assigned, but the National School Counselor Survey, as you saw in one of the earliest slides, says that school counselors really want to be engaged in this work. And we want to have an intentional focus around post-secondary outcomes and student achievement outcomes for students. And so we're very, very excited about this measurement. We think that's going to get us the funding streams that we need to hire more school counselors and college advisors in schools. Well, this has been really, really great. Thank you so much for taking the time, both today and committing the time next week. I cannot be happier nor more excited. Those of you who know me, you know I am an excited state at all times, but I am really, really excited about this work that's taking place on behalf of strengthening school counseling and college advising at the national level. What an opportunity, and what an opportunity that so many of you have joined us in this vision to support the First Lady's call to action to help more students to reach higher. We know that you can inspire our students to do better, and together we can inspire each other to do this very, very difficult work and the heavy lifting of helping all. I'm going to close at this time, but continue to send me your questions and check our website for the recording and any other information that you might need. And we will post up the organizations that are attending, the convening, and supporting this work as well. Have a great day, and see you next week.